Hi, welcome back. My name is Jenna, and today we're going to be talking about some insider tips on how to see a Broadway show for the cheapest possible way. If you're new to my channel, hello, I'm Jenna. I really like theater and I really like talking about theater, so welcome back. That's probably what you're here to hear about. If you're not, then I don't know why you're here. I hope you stay, but if you don't, I get it. So, as I have said before, I used to live outside of New York, and so I would go in quite often. And to do that and to not spend millions of dollars, that's an exaggeration, to not spend thousands of dollars a year, you gotta find some cheap ways to get your tickets and to get yourself in and to eat and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to talk about that today. My tip number one is if you're in New York for a vacation, for a weekend, whatever it is, then you don't have to listen to this tip. But where I am, I would always take the bus because I could either drive to the bus station, have a parent pick me up. The bus station was like 5 to 10 minutes from my house, so it was very close and very convenient. However, it was more expensive than, my friends would go to the train right outside Hoboken or Metro Park and train in from there. That is a very cheap way to do it. However, if you're like me, you have limited resources. The closest train station to my house was probably 40 minutes away, and I had to take major roads to get there, and for most of high school I couldn't drive because I was not old enough to. So because of that, the bus station was the easiest way for me to do it. But my tip number one is to just look into the train, see which one you can get to, see how cheap it is, compare that to the bus price of where you are. This is mainly for people who are in upstate New York or New Jersey or somewhere around New York where you can get there, but you're gonna have to pay a little bit extra. You're not already in the city. So this tip might be irrelevant for some of you, but when it comes to traveling, just find the cheapest possible way that you know you can get to. For me, that was unfortunately the bus, which was my only option and still pretty expensive. But if you're adventurous and you have a way to get farther from your home and closer to the city, the train and even maybe the buses, I'm not sure about that, but the train will definitely be cheaper that way. So I would say look into that first, but just look into the buses and the trains because those are going to be ways to get you into the city. I always bus into Port Authority, so it's right in Times Square, right by all the theaters. I don't even have to travel that far. It just plops me right where I need to go. I go see my show, I hang out around Times Square, and then I go home. So the bus does make it easy, and the train, if you go into Madison Square Garden, I believe also makes it easy. It is a little bit farther out than the bus. However, it's still an easy way to do it and a manageable walk. It's just about another 10 blocks on top of the blocks you're already going to walk to get to your theater. So that was more about getting into the city, just for people who are outside of it who want to get there, or for people who are staying outside of it and know they're close enough to get there. This is more for the shows. My second tip is if you know you are going to see a show, if you know you're going to New York for one day and you know you want to see a show, look on Today Tix, look on Broadway Box, and look on Theater Mania. Those are all the discount websites I've used. The only one I think I haven't bought from is Theater Mania, but they don't work in a sketchy kind of way. Broadway Box and Theater Mania basically take you to the Ticketmaster or Telecharge website you would normally buy the ticket through, and they just give you a discount code, or they apply a discount code. So you're still buying the tickets the same way you normally would. It's just with a discount applied. And the only way to really get that discount is go through Theater Mania or Broadway Box. Also, Playbill has emails you can get that email you discount codes, so same deal, you just put it in yourself rather than the website putting it in for you. Today Tix works a little differently, but I've used it twice now, and my sister has used it 2 or 3 times. I have a friend who's used it once or twice, and it is extremely reliable. So Today Tix, you buy your tickets through the app. I don't think they have a website, I think it's only an app, and they have tickets TodayTix. I'm sure Broadway Box and Theater Mania do too, but I know TodayTix for a fact. If you're in London, Chicago, California, wherever you might be, they have tickets for more cities than just New York. So even if you're by a major theater, and if it's not necessarily Broadway, they still might have discount tickets for you for major shows you have going on around you, which is so cool. So TodayTix works that you buy your ticket through the app. You don't actually get to pick your seats. You just buy a section that has a certain price on it. It does have an upcharge of $12, like a processing fee, but if you're getting a ticket for cheap enough, it's still cheaper than it would be to buy a normal price ticket, so it's worth it. And TodayTix, a half hour before the show, somewhere outside the theater, has someone in a red jacket with a red bag that has your ticket inside of there. The one disadvantage of TodayTix is that you don't actually know where you're sitting until you get to the theater and you have your tickets in your hand. However, for a show like Once on This Island, it doesn't really matter where you're sitting, and also you pick the section you're sitting in. So if you want to sit in the mezzanine and not necessarily the balcony, you can still pick the mezzanine. You just won't know exactly where in the mezzanine. But TodayTix is super easy. They have someone standing outside the theater a half hour before the show. They're very easy to spot because it's a really bright red, and you're able to just go there, pick up your ticket, and have your ticket. They also have certain lotteries through there. So the Holiday Inn lottery, when I saw that at Studio 54, was through there, and they have a lot more plays. So like I think the Parisian Woman, I think that's how it's pronounced, with Uma Thurman was just through TodayTix, that lottery. And the Public Theater's lottery is also through TodayTix. So some of them are exclusively through TodayTix, but that's almost how you know it is reliable, because these shows are so trusting of the app. So I do also recommend TodayTix. If you look carefully and you look a lot, you can find good deals. Like I said, when I saw Once on This Island, the normal ticket price is about $100 after fees. With TodayTix, my ticket was $66 after fees. So it definitely helps to save you money. My third tip is to enter every lottery you find. If you're like me and sometimes you're just going into the city for a day and you don't necessarily know or care which show you're going to see, entering every lottery you see is just the best way to go, in my opinion. So depending on the company that owns the show, they do their lotteries differently. For example, Juju Mackin has them all through now a website called Lucky See. A lot of bigger shows are through Broadway Direct, so make sure you look there. SpongeBob's on there, Wicked's on there, Lion King's on there, so on. And some shows like School of Rock, Matilda had it this way, have it through a different website called Social Toaster, where you sign in with your social media. That one I never actually got all the notifications for it. It seemed not as put together as Lucky See or Broadway Direct, but it's still one you can use if they have shows on there that you're interested in. I think you just have to make sure and be on top of the fact that you actually signed up and are getting notifications from it, because there are definitely shows I tried entering the lottery for, thought I entered the lottery for, and then just never heard from. So with Social Toaster, be a little bit more careful. But overall, entering the lottery, especially if you don't care what show you're going to see and you just want to go see a show, is the perfect way to go, because most of those tickets are $50 or under. There are a few exceptions to that, but most of the time they are that. And depending on the show, you sit in different spots. So for example, I won the Wicked lottery one time. I got $35 tickets and I was about 15 rows back in the orchestra. So it was a really good seat and it was a really good ticket. And if you've ever been in the Gershwin, that theater is humongous. So 15 rows back in the orchestra might sound like a lot, but it was actually the perfect seating. So definitely enter the lotteries, but just also be prepared that you might end up with a seat you're not expecting. For example, I got $42 tickets from the Kinky Boots lottery. However, I was in a box seat, so it wasn't necessarily a direct view. So just be prepared for any seat you might get. Could be orchestra, could be box seat, could be mezzanine. Just be prepared, because you are getting a ticket for typically super cheap. So for me, like, I can't complain too much because I'm still in the theater. I got to go there for really cheap and like I'm seeing a show. But if you only want orchestra seats, this might not be the best way to go for you. Sometimes you can look it up and people have said, you know, oh, this show gives out, like Hamilton is known for giving out 26 orchestra seats, I believe. So some shows have it as a set place. Other shows, I think it's more just like, oh, we have these extra seats, let's give out the lottery for them. So just be aware of that. So my fourth tip is always ask the box office about rush tickets. So rush tickets are something where I don't necessarily know if they're set aside or if they're just extra tickets they have or if they're tickets they select in the morning, but whatever it is, when the box office opens in the morning, they have rush tickets available for certain shows. Go to BroadwayForBrokePeople.com to see what the rush policy is for each exact show. I will link it below. Broadway for Broke People has exactly what shows have rush policies, what shows have lotteries, everything like that. So I will link it below because it kind of covers everything I'm talking about. Rush tickets are basically given out to the first however many people are there, and they're usually a cheap price, anywhere between $30 and $50. And I don't know what the seats are like. I've never actually gotten like a real rush ticket. I think I did once for Fiddler on the Roof. My ticket was $37 and I was fourth row orchestra all the way to the right. So I was really close to the stage, but at the same time I was on a harsh angle, but it was still really amazing. So I think that's the only actual rush ticket I've gotten, but more times than not I've gotten other types of tickets, which I'll go into at the end of this, but I just want to talk about rush tickets first. So if you know you're staying in New York for a weekend, you know you're going to be there overnight, and you know wherever you're staying is close to these theaters, then you can go in, sit in line at like 7, 8 a.m., look up when the box office opens and get these rush tickets for these shows. So you're getting really great seats for a really good price. Typically, like I said, they are anywhere between $30 and $50. So look it up before you go, look up the times of the box office before you go, and try to get there early because I know for bigger shows, people tend to go and get them really quick. So if you can't get a rush ticket, I'm gonna just include this in the same tip because the tip is to go to the box office. But let's say you go and the rush tickets are all gone. Well, some shows, this isn't as listed, like this is just more of a, oh, you go in and you ask and they tell you kind of thing. This is where a lesson is learned. It always helps to ask. But for certain shows, they have obstructive view tickets, which basically means they're selling tickets for really cheap, and the view, you might have a pole in your way, you might have something with the lighting in your way. It's not necessarily the best view, but you're still getting to see the show for very cheap. These tickets can range anywhere between, I don't know, I guess $30 and $60, but it's also a very, like, you have to go in and ask, and not every show has them. But this happened to me twice. So I saw Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder for $42 in a box seat. So it was a very harsh angle. It was all the way to the right and I couldn't necessarily see the best, but I was still there and I saw most of it and I got most of it and I loved the show. So it was really worth it. But the one that was the most worth it to me was I went into the Bronx Tale box office, the Longacre Theater, and I said to them, do you have any rush tickets? And I didn't know what to expect because A Bronx Tale's not the most popular show. It's amazing. Go see it. Listen to it. I love A Bronx Tale. So I wasn't sure how many rush tickets there would be left, if there would be any left, if people actually went early in the morning and got them. So I go up to the window and I ask, do you have any rush tickets available? That's what you have to say. That's the key. Ask them, do you have any rush tickets available? And then they'll obviously know what you're talking about. And he said to me, no, but I do have an obstructed view seat for $55 in the mezzanine. So I said, okay, because I asked around at other theaters. There was no other show I really wanted to see. So I said, all right, I'll take that. That's fine. I got up there. It was the thinnest pole I've ever seen in my entire life. They consider that obstructed view. They give me the ticket for $55, which I know sounds expensive, but for a Broadway ticket, like, is pretty cheap. I got the ticket for $55 and nothing was obstructed. I just had to deal with a pole in the middle, but I was sitting on an angle where the pole almost blended into the set, so it wasn't even that bad of an obstructed view. So I got a really cheap ticket for a really great seat in a really small theater with something that wasn't even obstructing my view that badly. So definitely make sure to ask if they have anything like that available, especially if you ask, do you have a rush ticket? They might say no, but we do have this kind of ticket, and that's the key. Also, like I said, for A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, I was able to get a box seat for $42. Here are two more things you can ask the people at the box office. You can ask them if they have any box seats available, which they usually have for pretty cheap, or you can ask them if they have standing room only seats available. Now, this is also on BroadwayForBrokePeople.com. They tell you which shows have a standing room only policy see, which basically means for usually a price of about $27, again, it depends on the show, you can go and stand in the back. So you're basically seeing it at orchestra level. And then at intermission, if there are any seats available that are open, you can go and take those seats. And that is definitely something very worth it to look into if you think you can stand for half the show, if you think you'll get lucky and there will be seats open. And we're basically seeing the show in orchestra for $27. That's the typical price I've seen. Not every show offers this. In fact, most shows don't. However, if you look on BroadwayForBrokePeople.com, which, like I said, will be linked below, then you can see what shows have it. I believe Chicago has it, Newsies had it. I don't know what shows currently have it, but you can look and see. And if it's a show you really want to see and you know you're on a budget, you can go ask if they have any standing room available. I do believe this also fills up. So basically the moral of the story is go earlier than later for any ticket that you're looking for, but it's a really cheap way to go see the show. So back to A Gentleman's Guide for Love and Murder. We ask them if they have any box seats. They say to us, we have one box seat available for $42, and then we have one standing room ticket available for $27. So my sister and I, for the first act, I was in the box seat and my sister was using the standing ticket, and then at intermission we switched. So my sister was in the box seat and I was standing. So it's a really good, cheap way to do it. And like I said, you can plan ahead of time by looking on the website I've linked below and seeing which shows offer it and which shows don't. But basically going to the box office and asking, do you have any rush tickets? Do you have any box seats? Do you have any standing room only tickets? Those are going to be the best ways for them to not only offer you those cheap tickets, but then maybe offer you alternatives to those cheap tickets if they don't have those available. So my fifth tip is if you don't want to buy it necessarily off a discount website, or they don't have any discounts available, because sometimes you go to Theater Mania on Broadway box and they don't really have anything. It's just they're saying see regular price tickets rather than see this discount. So if they don't have anything available, or if you don't want to wait and test your chances with the lottery or with rush tickets or with seeing if they have just any spare tickets available, because that is a very you have to be lucky, you have to be there at the right time kind of deal. So if you don't want to take your chances, which is perfectly understandable, the next thing I recommend is to buy your tickets directly off the website for the show. What I mean by this is sometimes you will see a show and you'll be like, I want to see that. So you'll go to Broadway.com and you'll click on the show and you'll go and you'll buy your tickets through Broadway.com. Don't do this. Do not do that. I love Broadway.com. I think it's a wonderful news source. However, they upcharge their tickets a lot. So I'm sure sometimes you'll look and you'll see that they have a cheap ticket available and you'll be like, whoa, so cool. However, Broadway.com does not let you pick your own seats. So basically they're picking the seats for you, and even if you pick the cheapest region, so let's say you pick the rear mezzanine, the front of the rear mezzanine is $100 and the back of the rear mezzanine is $50. So more times than not, Broadway.com is offering you the $100 ticket rather than the $50 one. So to solve this, go to the website of the show you're looking to buy a ticket for and go through their telecharge or Ticketmaster, because those usually have the seating charts where you pick your actual seat right there. So if you're like me and you're looking for the cheapest ticket and you don't care that you're going to be sitting all the way in the back, you go on and you look on the back row and you get the cheapest ticket they have. For example, back to Once on This Island. I went and looked on Broadway.com just recently, just the other day, because I was curious. And all they offered me was a $169 ticket, I think. But then when I went through the Once on This Island website and I went to their telecharge page, I was able to find the $89.50 or $100 with fees ticket that is the cheapest one you're able to get. So like I said, Broadway.com is not necessarily offering you the cheapest ticket, while going through the website and actually picking your seat and clicking on the different options and seeing, all right, well, if I go a row up, it's going to be $20 more, but if I go 2 rows back, it'll be $30 cheaper. Then you know, and you're able to get the best deal and you're able to get the cheapest ticket. Again, if you like to sit in the orchestra, you like to sit in the mezzanine, this might not apply to you as much, but it's always good to pick your ticket too, so you know where you're sitting. But basically, if you don't want to get a discount, or if your parents are buying the ticket for you and they're like, these discount websites are shady, even though they're not, make sure you're buying through the actual website of the show. So my sixth tip is just going to be like my first one. I don't know why I put it all the way at the end and I didn't group them together, but too late now. My sixth tip is going to be for someone who's more going into the city from somewhere else. Like I mentioned before, you want to find a train or a bus that's really cheap, but this tip specifically is about food. So if you're like me and you like to give yourself a budget for the day and you say, I don't want to spend over $100. So you get your cheap ticket by going to the box office directly and getting a $40 ticket, and you take the bus in. If your bus is like mine, it's $42, which is so expensive round trip. So let's say you can only go to the bus close to you, and so now you're at $82 and you say to yourself, all right, well, I don't want to spend any more money than I need to and I don't want to go over that budget of $100. Here's what you do. There's a really great place called Wawa. And so you go to Wawa the night before or the morning of, and you get a sandwich and you get an iced tea, or you get some chips and you bring that in, and that costs you $10. And there you are at $92. Now you can buy yourself a $5 something from the show, even though none of them cost $5. Congratulations, you just saved yourself having to buy inflated prices of food in the city. If you're saying to me, Jenna, I'm visiting for the weekend and I don't want to spend a ton of money, here's another tip and trick. If you're a college student like me, you probably buy a ton of Starbucks. You download the Starbucks app, and if you're a gold member on the Starbucks app, actually, I don't know if this goes for people lower than gold, but if you're a gold member on the Starbucks app like I am, because your life is sad, then you get free rewards. So you can do what I did last time when I saw Once on this island, and you can get a drink, a sandwich, and chips all for free because you have a ton of rewards because you spend all your money on Starbucks. But that's another option if you have Starbucks rewards available. Let's say you just have one. So you buy yourself a sandwich and then you buy yourself a drink. There you go, a meal. Delicious. The Starbucks rewards cover anything you want to get in the store. Food, drink, whatever. I don't know if it covers like merchandise, but that's not what we're talking about here. It covers any food or drink you want to get in the store. So buy yourself a sandwich, buy yourself one of those to-go lunchbox thingies, buy yourself something and get the cheaper alternative as the one you're actually paying for. And by doing this, just do it in 2 transactions. Usually I ask them if it's okay if I do, so just do that. Be courteous, be nice. But yeah, there are really cheap ways to get food to the city. If it's the summertime, I usually get Wawa and eat it in Bryant Park. And then if it's the winter, I either get my full meal from Starbucks or I bring in Wawa and get a drink from Starbucks. So I'm still buying something, but I just eat it in the Starbucks. And there are a lot of Starbucks in New York. So if you see one that's really busy, don't worry. I'm sure there is one literally right next to it that you can go to. And if you're in the city, there are cheap options. I mean, most pizza places are pretty good, I think, and also pretty cheap. I think, like, I've seen a few in Times Square that run deals that are like 2 slices and a drink for $5. So just keep your eyes peeled and make sure you're looking. Just remember that sit-down restaurants are going to be pretty expensive. So if you're trying to save money and do New York on a budget, just look for little things like that. I mean, make sure the pizza places aren't like gross, but like just look for places offering deals, specials, anything like that. So yeah, these are my 6 tips on how to do New York / go see a show on a cheap budget. I really hope this helped. This is really just from years of experience of going in and seeing shows. Just kidding. It's really just from doing my research, doing my homework, having experienced some of these things myself. I was able to just learn, and so I wanted to share the knowledge I've gained with you, make your lives easier, and make you maybe convincing your parents to either let you go by yourself or have them take you in a little bit easier. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you know any more tips and tricks about getting cheap tickets, cheap ways into the city, and cheap food in the city, or if you found this helped you and you use some of these tips, comment them below. I'm so curious. And if you want more videos of me talking about theater and just talking and you like this a lot, make sure you hit that subscribe button and you can be friends with me. Just kidding, kind of. I will be back next time with an I don't know what. I just wanted to make this video because I mentioned that I would in my Once on this Island video, so here it is. Ta-da. I will see you guys next time, whenever that is. Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye. Bye. Have a good week, day. I don't know. Have a good time, whatever you're doing.